Hey everybody, what's up? We are going to be looking at pattern today. And pattern just means any type of repeated mark or image. Pattern is, you probably have, instances of pattern in a lot of spaces in your life. For example, on cards or stationery. Maybe you have them in, this is my pencil case, so perhaps you see some patterns and things like that. You might have patterns in your clothing or in any kinds of textiles that you use at home. You might have pattern in your dishes, okay? All of these things that I'm showing you are instances of repeated marks or images. These all count as patterns. This image also consists of a pattern. It's not regular in a mathematical way, okay? It's not like the same as the cutting mat, for example, but we would consider this a pattern in the art world because I am seeing the same types of marks that are repeated. Okay, so what we're gonna do actually is go ahead and get your sketchbook or a piece of paper, and I would like for you to get a pencil or a pen. I am going to use a Sharpie to do this demonstration so that you're able to see what I'm drawing a little bit easier from the video. What we're going to do actually is we're going to end up with something like this by the end of the lesson. Okay, so what I want for us to do to begin is we're actually going to need to draw our boxes in which we're going to place our patterns. So I'm going to show y'all how I would do this. We want 6 pretty evenly spaced, even sized boxes. So I'm going to start on the left side, and I'm just going to carefully draw 6 lines along this side, right? I am just estimating the space, but do the best that you can. You want to try to get your lines vertical and pretty closely spaced and pretty evenly distributed. Okay, now I'm actually going to turn my sketchbook. The reason for this is because I want to make long, straight lines without using a ruler. I did not ask for you all to get a ruler because I don't want you to stress about these lines, okay? So there is a way that you can't, the lines are straight enough for our purposes. There are certain times in art when you do need to use a ruler, but because we are working on building patterns more of as an exercise rather than a final project, you don't have to stress about these lines. And I'll just say, I'm actually just holding the pen still in my hand. I'm not moving my wrist. All I'm doing is holding the pen tight and pulling my arm towards myself, okay? So by doing this, what you're hopefully able to see is that I can create some straight, even lines without using a ruler, and this is fine for our purposes, okay? So I'm gonna finish these by just closing these boxes on the end, and would like for you to do the same. So if you are watching this video and following along, we'll go ahead and pause and give yourself a minute to draw your boxes, get set up. Okay, once you have done that, once you are finished, what I want to do is talk to you about, all right, creating patterns through repeated images. So what I am drawing here are these, okay, I have some diagonal lines. They're parallel, that's fine. Okay, now it is possible for me to stop here and say, yes, this is an example of pattern, right? But because we're in art and we want to make things that are visually interesting, something that's exciting to you, something that's nice and that you like, what I want us to do is to now take this and make it more complex. The way that we're going to do that is, I really would recommend just adding simple things into what is already there. So I am making just a zigzag line in every other space and every other stripe, and I just sort of want to see what happens. Okay, this is another level of a pattern. Okay, I can leave this here if I am satisfied with it. Okay, if I'm not, I'm gonna keep adding to make this more complex. I think just for funsies, I'm going to fill in these spaces with some vertical stripes, not vertical, parallel. And what I just want to see what happens. I am taking something that's simple. Okay, these are just straight lines. They just happen to lean over a little bit, but they're just straight lines. I want to see how they impact my pattern though. Okay, so What I hope you're noticing is that this is getting more complex. I'm not doing anything insane. Okay, I just drew some straight lines, but it's adding some level of interest into my work. I think I will continue to do that in the spaces that I have, and I will fill in some of these triangles. Right, so let's see what happens here. Adding layers and adding complexity. That is the name of the nice pattern game. Okay. So this is what I have. Okay, because I feel like it, I'm actually going to just go ahead and finish all of these. Okay, I'm actually turning my sketchbook now in order to draw these lines, which you may or may not want to do something like that. I just find that kind of like how we drew those vertical lines for the boxes, if you position your paper so that it works with your hand, I think it just makes it like a more pleasant drawing experience. Okay, so here is my pattern, right? I've got repeated motifs, repeated images, and in this case I'm using pretty similar lines to sort of make this cohesive. Okay, let's think about making a different type of pattern, one that's maybe a bit more loose. Patterns do not necessarily have to follow mathematical rules. They don't have to be exact in the art world, so that is really nice. What I'm doing now is kind of scribbling, and what I hope that you are noticing is that by making a similar motion with my hand, by using I'm using the same type of pen, so it's got the same kind of types of marks. This is considered a pattern as well, okay? Again, because we are seeing something that is repeated. You can try this. I sort of like trying to build patterns in different ways, like taking different approaches, because different methods will give you different results, and this is a time to experiment with these things and to see yeah, what can come out of your hand, what can come out of your brain just by getting started. Okay, so two different types of patterns. I think I want to try something else. I'm going to try a different approach. Let's say I want to draw something with some scales or some scalloped edges. What I'm doing now is I'm just drawing, it looked like the letter U, some kind of like bendy lines. Okay, nothing dramatic, nothing crazy, but okay, this is a pattern. Again, it's not finished to me. Okay, I'm not very excited about it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of keep adding some simple lines, some simple layers, and to keep changing this in order to create something that I like better, something that's a bit more complex, right? Each of these lines that I'm drawing now is just kind of a different instance of that U shape that I drew before, but when we have more and more of them in the space, the pattern becomes a bit more exciting, a bit more visually appealing. What I would encourage you all to do when you are working on your own types of patterns is to try different motions, different shapes in your lines. So I'm going to just finish this and then I will point out exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Also, let me just point out that I am filling up the entire bars with the pattern, because when you have something that's taking up more space visually, the pattern changes, like when you can see a lot of it versus when you can just see a small bit. Okay. In these 3 boxes which I have completed, I have used different types of lines. Okay, I've used some straight lines and a pretty regular pattern. I've used some squiggly lines, some more organic lines, and a crazy pattern. Okay, and now I've got some curvy lines, which I have sort of built. Each of these patterns are built with slightly different approaches. Okay, I'm going to show you guys one other thing that I made. And so here are just other examples of patterns, right? All of these are showing repeated images. They're all quite different. I was able to get a lot of different types of results, and I wish you luck. I hope that you enjoy this process, and really what we want to be doing is making patterns that are exciting to you, patterns that are complex and